I'm joined by Jenny Dodd, who is the director of Tafe Directors Australia. And I think probably fair to say that somebody who should be reasonably pleased with the interim report from Mary O'Kane and colleagues. Jenny, is it a good-looking report for Tafe?
Yes, look, we are very pleased. We think what has been delivered in this interim report bodes well for future conversations about collaboration and what this means for a tertiary education sector. We've been promoting that for some time, that we have to start looking at the system, that it doesn't distinguish as it currently does so delineated way between higher education and vocational education, and has all the right levers to enable a student to work across both and industry to gain the benefits of both. So we're heartened by the report. We think there's the next phase, which is, as Professor O'Kane called it, areas for consideration, continues to bode well for future conversation. Of course, it's all about what is actually going to be the implementation of this, and what does that pragmatic change look like? And there are some fundamental things to make collaboration work. One is funding equity has to be considered between vocational education and training and higher education. The second is we don't really have a higher education system. And if we're starting to talk about tertiary education, then there are some absolute fundamentals that will need to shift to enable a holistic approach to how this comes together. TDA hasn't always supported the notion of a tertiary education commissioner, but I guess in thinking through, can we achieve this without an accountable body? I'm not sure. So we are certainly open to a rethink around that conversation, because an accountable body might be needed.
Well, which is going to have a difficult task in navigating the vexed and complex TAFE governance, the training governance system of states and territories, let alone talking to the university sector. It would be a very difficult job to do.
Yes, it will be a difficult job to do, but I think what we have to be really clear about is this is tertiary education. And I think for VET, we've often muddled up secondary education within VET training programs. It's time to be clearer around the importance of vocational education in schools. I'm not diminishing that. Absolutely, we need to do that. But we need to have a separation point between what an adult needs for their 50-year career and post-school learning. And I think that this gives some opportunities for that. It's also very heartening in this report. It's strong conversation around equity. The TAFE sector has been absolutely pivotal in equity forever. We are the place where people come to get those learning opportunities that they haven't been able to get elsewhere as adults. We are regionally dispersed, so we can work extremely well in these new tertiary study hubs, although there've already been some in place. And I strongly encourage the committee to drop the university from the name of those study hubs and make sure it's about tertiary education, so that students can see they can do TAFE and university in these study hubs out in the regions and in the parts of metropolitan on the edges where they're also being proposed. So from our point of view, we think that the essence of the report bodes well for ongoing collaboration. The Accord panel has been prepared to listen, and we've been really heartened by that. We've had a number of conversations with them. They have been prepared to listen. They have been prepared to engage with different ideas. They've been prepared to open up and not just consult with one or two different groups. We've certainly felt like we've been able to express some of those ideas.
What about the learning entitlement, which is a huge idea? That's going to cross a lot of funding borders.
So we're going to see what that actually looks like as it rolls through. One of TDA's 10 big ideas that it did put to the Accord panel was equity of funding for where a student decides to do higher education. Currently, only a very small number of TAFEs get Commonwealth supported places. We would argue that that needs to be expanded, and this is an important part of equity, because if a student starts a course in TAFE, and we do pick up a lot of those students that have been relatively disadvantaged in the learning environment, then the transition into higher education in TAFE is an easier play than to transition to a university. And we want more equal funding about that, and recognition that to support equity students, there might need to be a different way in which funding occurs. And TAFEs are very much arguing for Commonwealth supported places to enable those sorts of degree opportunities for students.
That is buried in the document. There is a reference to CSPs for TAFE at unspecified, quote unquote, AQF levels.
It is, and it did also highlight my recall of that particular area in the paper around nation priority areas.
National skill priorities, yeah.
Yeah, and we're not opposed to that. We understand where they might need to start, but I guess our position is a student should have choice regardless of where they want to study. And we're definitely happy about the mission-based purpose of national skill priority areas. We're happy about the mission-based purpose perhaps of regional collaboration with industry, TAFE and local universities. Very happy about all that. But we also think students, especially students from equity groups, need to be able to get the support that they might get in a learning environment for higher education that's better often in a TAFE than it might be in a university. So that is certainly our position there.
How long do you reckon it would take to sort it out?
Sort out the implementation.
To create a seamless.
Oh well, we've been having these conversations for a long time. I actually think we need to start. That's why the nation priority areas is probably a good thing to do. Try not to do everything, and start in some areas where we can really make a difference. And a good example of that might well be in the clean energy environment, where it's fairly untapped at the moment what the skills and knowledge needs are going to be going forward. TAFEs are already pushing the edge about what they're trying to deliver there, where we're moving faster than the system can keep up with. And I think there's some real opportunities to say, let's really look at the innovation that sits around those national priority areas.
That's a really interesting question. Is there a National Skills Council yet covering green energy, things like that?
Just formed. Powering Skills will pick up clean energy, but they're very conscious that a lot of what they will do in that area is work across the other jobs and skills councils, because a lot of them have to pick up some of those areas. It's not just in one. It's quite, when you think about hydrogen, for example, it can go manufacturing, it goes into the energy area. So that sort of collaboration will be very important, and we want to be at the heart of that as well.
Which will put you now already way in front of higher ed, as far as I know, because there isn't a group that can speak for a mass of different courses.
Yeah, that is true. But again, this is back into the, right into the vet space. TAFEs need to be at the heart of those conversations, not having it done to us, which was the previous iteration of that model. We do need to be part of the conversation right at the forefront of that. And that part of our workforce that delivers those qualifications is part of their workforce. So they've got to see us as real partners in that. And then, of course, there's the partnership with universities and with industries. I think the opportunities are wonderful, but we have to make sure that they're realised.
I have a sense from looking at the way Minister Clare and the Skills and Training Minister, Mr O'Connor, express themselves, that TAFE now has a friend at court, or friends in cabinet to an extent nationally that I can't remember in my lifetime.
I think there's been a recognition that TAFEs are educational organisations, and we span huge range of students, and we span a huge range of qualifications that go right from foundation skills right through to degrees. We deliver across the spectrum, but we're focused there. We're government organisations for our local communities, for our states and territories to deliver on their economies, but we're educational organisations. We don't drive for profit, we drive for the benefit of those states and territories and those communities and our local industries. I think that recognition in this government has been really, really poignant, and it's there in the conversations they have about TAFE being at the heart. And we look forward to being able to provide those solutions, be part of the solutions, not just have things that are pushed onto us, but be actually there using the expertise of our workforce and the connections we have.
Which is a great way to wrap it. Jenny Dodd from Tafe Directors Australia, thank you so much. I hope we'll be talking to you a lot more about this over the next few years. Thanks, Jenny, and we're out.
Thanks very much.